The warning spread quietly through the Galactic Council, carried in worried whispers and uneasy glances, but the one who spoke it carried the weight of long experience. Varkith, an elder strategist of his people, had seen many wars rise and fall across the galaxy. He knew how empires collapsed and how small sparks turned into storms. When he spoke, most listened, but not everyone cared to understand. Razik, a rising warlord with more pride than patience, heard only what he wanted to hear. Varkith warned him not to attack the humans, not even with a small strike team. He explained that Earth was not like the other young planets. Their fleet was fast, sharp, and driven in ways no alien commander had ever fully understood. Razik refused to believe him. He believed humans were nothing but another weak species waiting to be conquered. He looked at their small planetary borders, their quiet political stance, and assumed they were too humble to stand against a real threat. Varkith tried again, telling him that humans were fast learners and their warships were built with unpredictable designs. He warned that they adapted with a kind of focus that frightened even the Council. But Razik only laughed and brushed him aside. Instead of listening, he began preparing a strike on an isolated human colony near the edge of Council space. He believed he would make an example out of Earth and use it to secure more power for himself. He called the humans fragile. He called them inexperienced. He called them foolish for expanding into the frontier. What he did not know was that the humans had already prepared for attacks like this. On Earth, inside the command center of the defense fleet, Admiral Han Jisu stood watching a display of the colony S-12 region. She had trained for years, rising from a quiet officer with sharp instincts into a respected leader known for calm strategy. Her people trusted her without question. Her crew knew she could make decisions with precise judgment, and she cared deeply for the safety of every human life in the galaxy. While Earth kept peace, she never forgot that the galaxy was unpredictable. She knew peace lasted only when one protected it. She oversaw Earth's patrol routes, watching for disturbances. That morning, something strange appeared. A small distortion in the deep space tracking grid. It was faint but not invisible. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the readings. The distortion did not match asteroid shadows or stray signals. It matched an artificial warp signature from an unknown fleet. She did not speak loudly. Instead, she simply said, "Prepare a long-range scan. Something is entering human territory." Her officers moved quickly. The fleet responded instantly because they had trained for moments like this. On the far side of the sector, the human colony went about its normal routines. Minji, a young botanical researcher, was working inside the greenhouse dome with samples of alien seedlings. She loved her work, loved discovering how different alien plants survived in unusual climates. She had chosen a peaceful life on the frontier far from the busy cities of Earth. She never imagined danger would reach her quiet world. Not far away, Day 1, an engineer on the colony's energy grid, was repairing a faulty converter. He had lived on the colony long enough to feel at home among the metal walkways and constant hum of machinery. He joked often with coworkers and never imagined he would one day run for his life. When the sky above the colony darkened, people first thought it was a passing storm. But then a deep echo rolled through the atmosphere. It was the kind of sound that did not belong to nature. A burning streak of red tore across the sky. Razik's fleet arrived without warning. His ships opened fire on the colony, sending explosions across the ground and scattering debris in all directions. Minji fell behind a support beam as the greenhouse dome shattered. Day 1 dropped his tools and ran toward the shelters, shouting for others to follow. Razik watched from his command vessel, pleased with what he believed was an easy victory. But before he could celebrate, something unexpected appeared on his scanners. A single human warship emerged from warp, the ESF Dahan. Its hull gleamed silver and blue, and its design looked simple but sharp, built for both speed and precision. Razik's officers stared at the screen, confused. The Dahan was only one ship. Razik expected fear, retreat, or surrender. Instead, the Dahan moved with amazing confidence, turning sharply and flying straight toward his formation. Without hesitation, the human ship fired first. Its rail cannons struck 2 alien fighters in one clean shot. Razak was shocked. No single ship should move with such speed or accuracy. The Dahan fought like it had studied his fleet for years. Its pilots maneuvered through tight spaces between alien blasts, and its shields absorbed hits that should have weakened weaker vessels. Razak shouted orders, demanding all ships focus fire on the Dahan. But every time they aimed, the human ship shifted position like it knew their plans before they acted. On the colony surface, Minji and Day One reached the underground shelter with dozens of others. They huddled together, listening to the distant thunder of the battle above. They did not know which side was winning. They did not know if they would survive. But they trusted Earth's fleet. The Dahan held Razak's forces long enough for the colony to complete full evacuation. Admiral Han Jisu received the alert and immediately understood the situation. She recognized Razak's fleet signature from old council reports. She knew he was reckless and ambitious. She knew he would not stop with one colony. Without raising her voice, she ordered the deployment of Earth's nearest battle group. The galaxy had not seen Earth move at full force in many years. They did not expect what would follow. Razak watched the Dahan begin a high-speed turn, its engines burning bright. He realized too late that the ship was delaying him, not fighting him for victory. It was protecting the civilians, and humans protected their own with fierce dedication. He fired all cannons in frustration, but the Dahan escaped into warp just as Earth's main fleet signal activated. The message that went out from Earth was simple. It echoed through council channels and across border systems. We are not prey. We are prepared. The galaxy paused. The council grew tense. And Admiral Han Jisu prepared to launch Earth's fleet across the galaxy in pursuit of Razak, just as Varkith had warned. Razak thought escaping the small colony was victory. But he did not understand the truth of Varkith's warning. The humans would not forget. And Earth's fleet would now hunt him wherever he ran. Razak believed he had won something great when he attacked the human colony, but he had only started something far more dangerous. He did not understand the kind of response humans were capable of. He did not know how fast Earth could move when one of their own was harmed. He only saw the damaged colony and thought it was a sign of human weakness. He did not realize the humans were already preparing to follow him. On the colony, the survivors inside the underground shelter tried to stay calm. Minji sat beside a broken rail, her hands shaking lightly as she listened to the distant rumbling above. She kept looking at the sealed metal doors, waiting for news. Day One walked up and down the small corridor, checking on the injured and giving out small words of comfort. He did not know how to stop the fear he felt, but he kept himself busy to stay focused. When the shelter announcement system suddenly crackled alive, everyone stopped moving. The voice was calm, steady, and careful. It said, "This is Earth Defense Fleet. The enemy attack has been pushed back. We will evacuate all civilians." People cried in relief, and some held each other quietly. Minji closed her eyes for a moment and whispered a thank you she did not expect to say. Above the colony, the ESF Dahan continued its defensive maneuvers. Its engines glowed bright blue as it escaped the battlefield. The ship carried important information about the attack, and it needed to reach Admiral Han Jisu fast. The crew inside the Dahan worked quickly, sending reports and scanning Razak's warp trail. They were tired, but none of them slowed down. They knew the attack meant Earth would now respond with full force. Razak's fleet, far from the colony, entered a quiet part of space. He felt proud of his attack and believed humans would be too afraid to chase him. He laughed as he studied the damage his weapons caused. His officers cheered and praised him, but none of them understood the real danger approaching them. One of his tactical officers walked toward him and said something that made him pause. "Warlord, the human warship that fought us. It did not fight like other ships. It defended the colony and then escaped. It moved like it had a plan from the start." Razak waved the officer away. He said humans only had luck, not skill. But deep inside, he felt a small worry he refused to admit. Back on Earth, Admiral Han Jisu stood at the center of the command room. Large screens displayed the colony damage, the enemy fleet pattern, and the evacuation progress. Every officer around her worked with intense focus. When the report from the Dahan arrived, she studied it with sharp eyes. She saw Razik's fleet signature. She saw the attack pattern, and she understood exactly what needed to be done. She gave an order that changed the entire atmosphere of the room. Prepare the battle group. We track him. We follow him. We do not let him escape. The officers answered her with full confidence. Earth's fleet was known across the galaxy for two things. They protected their own, and they never stopped once they began a pursuit. The battle group began forming, gathering ships from nearby regions. Warships linked communication lines and synced targeting systems. Dock teams loaded supplies and crews checked every weapon and shield. The galaxy had seen Earth's patrols before, but Earth had rarely sent a full strike force after one attacker. This time, they were not holding back. In a distant station belonging to the Galactic Council, Varkith received news of the human colony attack. His heart grew heavy because he knew what would come next. He had warned Razik many times. He had told him humans were not like the other young species. The Council feared human aggression, but they forgot to fear human discipline. Varkith knew Earth's fleet fought only when necessary, but once they started, they did not stop until the threat was gone. He tried contacting Razik's command channel, but Razik refused to answer. He was too busy celebrating what he believed was a victory. Meanwhile, the Dahan arrived at Admiral Jasu's fleet. The crew stood proudly as they transferred critical data. They were tired but relieved to see support finally arriving. Admiral Jasu visited the Dahan's bridge for a brief inspection. She thanked the crew personally for holding the line and protecting the civilians. Her voice was quiet but respectful. She never ignored bravery, not even from the smallest ship in the fleet. With the fleet gathered, Earth activated the Hunter Protocol. This system allowed them to track enemy warp signatures across long distances. Only a few species knew how advanced human tracking technology truly was. Razik was not one of them. As Razik traveled deeper into unregulated space, he noticed strange readings on his radar. His officers told him the humans might be following, but he refused to believe they were capable of such fast pursuit. He thought he had more time. He thought humans would take days to regroup. Instead, the human fleet had already entered the frontier. As the battle group moved through space, the ships flew in perfect formation. Their engines pulsed in controlled rhythm, and their sensors scanned every point of space ahead. Each ship crew member understood the mission clearly. They were not chasing revenge. They were protecting their future. Minji, Day 1, and the other colonists boarded evacuation transports. The ships rose into the sky, leaving the damaged colony behind. Many of them cried quietly. They had built their homes there. They had dreamed of peaceful lives. But as they looked out the windows and saw Earth's warships passing overhead, they felt safe. The humans were strong, and they would not let the attacker escape. As the evacuation ships joined Earth's returning convoy, Admiral Jasu watched the incoming data. Her eyes were serious, but there was a steady calm inside her. She had made her decision, and nothing would change it. The fleet accelerated, breaking through space in a bright wave of light. Razik's ships were still trying to cover their tracks when the first sign of the human pursuit reached them. His officers panicked. They shouted about the incoming fleet, trying to understand how humans found them so fast. Razik felt fear now. Real fear. The kind Varkith had warned him about. The humans had started their chase, and Earth's fleet would hunt him anywhere he ran. Earth's fleet moved through space with a quiet and focused strength. Every ship kept perfect formation as they followed the warp trail of Razik's fleet. The engines glowed softly in the darkness, leaving long blue lines behind them. Inside the flagship, Admiral Han Jasu stood at the center of the command floor, her hands behind her back, her eyes fixed on the data streams floating above the main screen. She did not speak much, but everyone around her felt her calm authority. She understood what this mission meant. A human colony had been attacked. Lives were lost. Families were forced to flee their homes. Humans did not begin wars, but when pushed, they answered with full force. Jasu watched the tracking system show a faint but steady signal. It belonged to Razik's main ship. She knew they were closing the distance. She also knew Razik would try to hide, so she prepared her fleet for all possibilities. On several ships across the battle group, officers scanned for changes in the warp trail. Some of them were young cadets who had never been in a rail chase before. They felt nervous but determined. They wanted to protect their people. Meanwhile, Razik traveled through a dense part of space known for asteroid fields and old mining tunnels. He hoped the difficult terrain would make the humans slow down. His officers argued nervously, telling him the humans were known for advanced tracking systems. But Razik refused to admit fear. He told them humans were weak and could not keep up with him. He told them the humans had only one ship earlier, and they would not dare send more. But he was wrong. And soon he realized that the humans never stopped once they made a decision. On one of the Earth support ships, a young pilot named Heron monitored the flight path. She kept adjusting small controls, making sure their formation stayed smooth even as they passed through heavy asteroid regions. She was quiet, but she was sharp. She had trained for years to fly in dangerous areas. She remembered her teacher telling her that Earth pilots needed calm minds, not loud voices. So she kept her breathing steady and did not let the tension distract her. On another ship, a weapons officer named Taijayu checked the rail cannon systems repeatedly. He wanted everything ready when the moment came. He had heard stories about alien warlords like Razik, but he never expected to face one so early in his career. He felt nervous but proud. This mission was important. On Earth, news of the colony attack spread quickly. People watched the broadcasts with anger and sadness. Families worried about loved ones who lived on frontier worlds. But when they learned that Admiral Jisu and the fleet were already chasing the attacker, many felt a sense of reassurance. Humanity had grown strong since joining the wider galaxy. They had learned from past conflicts. They had studied alien strategies and built ships that matched the best technology in the Council. They were no longer a young species in the shadows. They were a rising force. As Razik reached the Corwin Nebula, he ordered his fleet to hide inside the thick clouds of dust. The nebula was difficult to navigate. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Signals scattered unpredictably. He believed the humans would lose the trail and drift off course. His officers relaxed slightly when they entered the colorful fog. They believed they had finally escaped. But Earth's fleet did not slow down. They did not lose the signal. Their tracking system was stronger than Razik understood. Admiral Jisu calmly said, "Adjust scanning frequency. The nebula will try to distort the readings. Stay steady." Her officers followed her orders. They changed the tracking frequency, allowing the sensors to read deeper through the dust. Slowly, the warp signal came into focus again, showing Razik's exact path. Some of the bridge crew were amazed. They had heard stories about Earth technology, but seeing it in action was different. The nebula glowed outside the windows, swirling with red and purple lights. The fleet moved through it like a silent blade, cutting through the fog without hesitation. Razik started to feel uneasy. He checked his scanners and saw faint signals behind him. He shouted at his officers to confirm the readings. When they told him the signals matched human warships, his face twisted with shock. "Impossible! They cannot track us in this nebula," he yelled. But they could, and they did. The human fleet grew closer each minute. With panic rising, Razik ordered his ships to scatter in different directions. He believed the humans would lose track if his ships broke apart. But Admiral Jisu had predicted this. Earth ships spread in wide arcs, matching the alien movements with practiced precision. Heron received new flight commands and turned her ship smoothly to follow one of the splintering alien groups. She felt a small rush of pride as she kept the enemy on her radar. Taijayu prepared weapons as soon as the enemy signatures lit up in range. His fingers hovered over the activation panel, his heartbeat slow and focused. Meanwhile, Minji and Day One sat in the evacuation transport on their way to Earth. The ship was calm, and many colonists rested in their seats. Minji sat by a window, watching stars blur past. She felt safer now, but she wondered what was happening out there. Day One sat beside her. He tried to smile, telling her Earth always protected its people. She nodded, trusting his words. She believed the humans would win. She believed Earth would not let the attacker escape. Back in the nebula, Razik's fleet kept scattering, but the humans stayed close behind each group. Every time Razik thought he had escaped, another human ship appeared on the radar. His officers grew desperate. Some begged him to flee farther. Others begged him to surrender. But Razik refused to give up. He still believed he could outrun them. Admiral Jisoo stood firm at her command station. She watched the data on the main screen and understood something clearly. Razik was not acting with strategy. He was acting with fear, and fear made him predictable. She ordered her ships to continue pressing forward. The human fleet tightened its formation around the enemy groups. Heron pushed her ship forward with smooth control, avoiding bursts of nebula energy. Taijayu prepared to fire if needed, but he waited for the signal. The human fleet did not rush. They did not waste energy. They waited for the right moment. And that moment came when Razik tried to hide his main ship behind a collapsing asteroid cluster. The human fleet picked up the anomaly immediately. Admiral Jisoo gave a simple order: hold position, surround the target. The fleet moved like a closing trap. Razik finally understood that he could not escape. The humans had found him, just as Varkith had warned. And now Earth's fleet was ready to show why no one should attack them. The chase was ending. The real battle was about to begin. Razik tried to steady his breathing as he watched the human fleet close around him like a tightening net. The glowing clouds of the nebula swirled around his ship, but the bright light from the human warships cut through the fog with clear purpose. His officers moved in panic, rushing across the control floor and shouting fractured reports. He ordered them to be quiet, but his own voice trembled. He had led many battles before this one. He had defeated small empires and taken territory from weaker species. But he had never felt fear like this. He finally understood that the humans were not slow or weak. They were patient, disciplined, and relentless. They were the kind of enemy who did not let a single attack go unanswered. The humans had come for him, and they would not leave without ending the threat he created. On Admiral Han Jisoo's flagship, the command crew prepared for engagement. Jisoo stood tall, her expression still and calm. She studied the positions of the alien ships. Razik's forces were scattered, unorganized, and overwhelmed by fear. She saw no structure in their movements. She knew that this battle would not last long if her fleet acted with precision. She did not want to destroy more than she needed to. Earth did not waste lives, not even enemy lives, unless forced to do so. She gave her orders in a steady tone. Begin forward advance. Maintain formation. Target engines only. Give them a chance to surrender. The phrase repeated across every ship of the battle group. Humans did not fight with cruelty. They fought with control. They fought with goals, not rage. The first wave of human ships moved forward, their engines glowing as they slipped through the nebula fog. Weapons officers across the fleet locked onto the enemy engines. Rail cannons hummed with stable power. The first shots fired. Sharp beams of blue light struck the engines of two alien ships. They sparked, flared, and went dark. The alien ships drifted helplessly. Razik shouted at his forces to return fire. Several ships panicked and shot blindly into the fog, but the humans were already moving. They dodged the wild blasts with smooth and practiced motions. More human ships pushed forward. Heron maneuvered her craft around floating rocks and burning debris as she followed the orders precisely. She guided her ship closer to one of the remaining alien vessels. Taijayu prepared the rail cannons but waited for the official signal. The nebula rumbled with the heavy sounds of weapons firing. The light from the blasts made the fog glow like a storm. But everything inside the human fleet remained organized. Every pilot moved with calm discipline. Every weapons officer held steady focus. They did not rush. They did not storm forward recklessly. They advanced step by step. Razik's ship trembled as another hit struck one of his escorts. His officers called out that more ships had lost their engines. He punched one of the control panels in frustration. Fire back. Fight them. Do not let them surround us. But even as he shouted, he could see the hopelessness in his officers' eyes. They no longer believed they could escape. They no longer believed victory was possible. Razak had promised them an easy fight. But now they were trapped by an enemy who outmatched them in every way. The humans sent another message across the battlefield. The audio cut through the nebula like a clear bell. "This is Earth Defense Fleet. Stand down and surrender. We have no intention to destroy you if you stop your attack." Razak heard the message and felt anger boil inside him. He refused to surrender. He refused to admit defeat. But some of his officers lowered their heads. Some asked him to consider surrender. They wanted to live. They wanted to escape the nightmare Razak had led them into. He ignored them and ordered all ships to prepare one final push. He believed a sudden full-force charge could break the human formation. It was a foolish hope, but he was desperate. The alien ships moved forward. A disorganized wave. A final act of pride. Admiral Jesu watched them on the main screen. Her expression did not change. She gave a quiet order. "Disable the front line. Prepare for complete containment." Her words spread through the fleet. Rail cannons fired again. More alien engines burned out and died. Some ships spun helplessly. Others drifted without power. Heron guided her ship into position with steady breath. Taijayu released a controlled shot, hitting the last ship in the charging line. The moment the engine went dark, the alien charge collapsed completely. One by one, Razak's ships stopped moving. They floated without power, without weapons, and without hope. The human fleet surrounded them fully. Razak fell silent as he looked at the battlefield around him. His ships were ruined. His forces were broken. He expected the humans to fire again. He expected destruction. But the humans did not attack further. They only maintained formation. They waited. They gave him a final chance to surrender. He stared at the communication controls for a long moment. His pride hurt him like a blade. But his fear was stronger. He finally opened a channel. "We surrender." The message echoed through the nebula. Human ships powered down their weapons as soon as they received confirmation. They were trained to stop the moment surrender was given. They did not celebrate. They did not cheer. They simply prepared to secure the battlefield. Admiral Jesu exhaled softly. She looked out at the drifting alien ships and felt a quiet relief. The threat was ended, but she knew this was not the final step. The galaxy was watching. The Council would soon react, and humanity's actions here would shape their place among the stars. Razak sat heavily in his command chair, staring blankly at the screen. He had ignored every warning. He had attacked the humans. And now he finally understood Varkatha's words. The humans would hunt anyone who attacked them. They did not hunt out of cruelty. They hunted out of protection. They hunted because they cared for their own. And no one escaped that level of resolve. As human boarding teams moved in to secure his ship, Razak closed his eyes. His ambition had led him into the path of a force he could not understand. And now the humans had stopped him, not with rage but with strength and control. The nebula settled into calm light once again as the human fleet prepared to escort the defeated ships. The battle was over, and the galaxy would soon hear of how Earth had ended the threat with discipline and precision. The humans did not need to shout to be feared. Their actions spoke for them. The sky above the old space station was quiet, but inside the halls there was a feeling that something important was coming. Jaiwu walked slowly along the metal walkway, thinking about everything that had happened. She felt tired, but she did not want to stop yet. She knew the others were waiting for her. They needed to decide what to do next because the danger around them was growing every day. She touched the small bracelet on her wrist, a gift from her brother before he left Earth long ago. It reminded her of home, and it reminded her why she had come all this way. Near the central control room, Hanul stood with his arms crossed. He looked at the giant hologram in front of him. It showed many star systems, blinking in different colors. Red meant danger. Blue meant safety. Almost the entire map was red now. He sighed and closed his eyes for a moment. He knew the others depended on him, but sometimes he felt the pressure more than he wanted to admit. Even so, he stayed strong on the outside because he believed they still had a chance. When Jaiwoo entered, Hanul looked up and nodded. She gave him a small smile. She could see he was stressed. She wanted to help, but right now they both needed to talk about the mission. She stepped closer to the hologram and waited for him to speak. Before he could begin, the door behind them opened again, and Mira came inside, carrying a small datapad in her hands. Mira always moved fast. She never wasted time, and sometimes Jaiwoo wondered how she stayed so energetic. Mira walked straight to them and held out the datapad. "We have new information," she said softly. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed worry. "The enemy ships moved again. They are closer." She handed the datapad to Hanul. He took it and read quickly. He did not speak for a long moment. Then he slowly lifted his head. "We do not have much time," he said. "If we stay here, we will be found. But if we leave without a plan, we may not survive long enough to finish our mission." His voice echoed a little in the quiet room. Jaiwoo looked at the map. She pointed at a small blinking blue spot near the edge of the hologram. "What about here?" she asked. "It looks far. Maybe they will not find us there. We can stay hidden and think of our next move." Hanul thought about it for a moment. Mira walked around to get a better view. The blue spot was tiny and easy to miss. It looked like a forgotten place that no one cared about. That made it feel safer. "It could work," Mira said. "There is nothing important there. No resources, no cities, no ships. Maybe the enemy will not search it." She touched a few buttons on the hologram and brought up more details. The planet was small, covered mostly in forests and mountains. The air looked clean. There were signs of old ruins, but no dangerous readings. Hanul finally nodded. "We will go there," he said. "We need a place to rest and prepare. If we keep running without stopping, we will make mistakes, and mistakes will get us killed." The others agreed. It felt like the best choice, even if it was not perfect. Jaiwoo felt a small spark of hope inside her chest. Maybe they would finally get a moment of peace. Soon they gathered the full team and explained the plan. Everyone listened carefully. Some looked scared. Some looked ready to fight. Some kept their feelings hidden. But no one complained. They all trusted Hanul and Jaiwoo. They believed they had a chance. They prepared the ship quickly. The engines were checked. The navigation system was fixed again for the third time that day. Mira made sure the communication lines were safe and could not be traced. Jaiwoo helped the younger members of the team pack supplies. She talked to them gently, telling them not to worry. She did not know if her words were true, but she wanted them to feel strong. When everything was ready, they entered the ship. The doors closed behind them with a soft sound. The lights dimmed slightly as the engine started warming up. Hanul sat in the pilot's seat. Jaiwoo took her place beside him. Mira sat behind them watching the screens. "We are ready," Hanul said. The ship rose slowly, and the space station began to shrink below them. Jaiwoo looked back at it one last time. She remembered the long nights they spent planning here. She remembered the fear, the arguments, the small moments of laughter. She wondered if they would ever return. Soon they left the station far behind. The stars around them looked peaceful, but they knew danger was never far. Mira watched the radar closely. Hanul guided the ship through quiet paths between asteroid fields and old debris. Jaiwoo kept her eyes on the sensors. After many hours of silent travel, the small planet finally came into view. It looked calm and beautiful from above. Soft clouds wrapped around it like a blanket. The forests below looked deep and green. "We found it," Mira said with a small smile. Hanul slowed the ship and guided it into the atmosphere. The landing was smooth. The moment the doors opened, fresh air filled the ship. Jaiwoo stepped outside first. The ground felt soft under her boots. The wind moved gently through the trees. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly calm. The team spread out and began exploring the area. Some checked the surroundings for danger. Some collected samples. Hanul and Jaiwoo walked together through the trees. They did not speak at first. They just listened to the quiet nature around them. "We did well," Jaiwoo finally said. Hanul smiled a little. For now, he answered. But we cannot stay here forever. We still have a mission. We still have people depending on us. I know, Jaiwu said. But maybe one day things will be different. Maybe one day we can stop running. They continued walking until they found a small clearing. Sunlight passed through the leaves and touched the ground. They sat down for a moment. Jaiwu closed her eyes. She felt the warm light on her face and thought of Earth. She imagined her brother standing in a place like this. She wondered if he was still alive. Hanul watched her quietly. He knew she carried many worries. He knew she hid her fear well. He wanted to comfort her, but he was not sure what to say. Before he could speak, Myra's voice came through the communicator. You both need to come back, she said. We found something. Hanul and Jaiwu stood quickly. They hurried back through the trees. When they reached the ship, Mira pointed at the screen. A small signal was blinking. It came from the ruins in the north, Mira said. It is old, but someone sent it not long ago. Hanul's expression changed. Jaiwu felt her heart beat faster. We are not alone here, Hanul said softly. The quiet planet no longer felt simple. There was something waiting for them, and now they needed to decide what to do next. But none of them turned away. They came here for safety, but they also came for answers. And this signal might lead them to the truth.